Hello everybody. So today I'm going to go ahead and start detailing the Mustang for this Mustang flip. I told you guys in the previous videos that when I started to do that I would go over the process with you, show you the difference that it makes and how the process works. It's basically called a color correction by a lot of places, and you're basically doing a wash, a clay bar, a buff compound. You're basically taking all the swirl, scratches, everything that you can get out of the vehicle's paint. So that's why they call it a color correction, because it takes all that oxidation, all the scratches, all the swirl marks, everything out of that, brings you back to that showroom shine. So I'm going to show you the products I'm going to be using to work on that. So first off, we're going to start by washing the car with dish soap. Now usually I use Dawn. I could not find my Dawn. It's really good. The reason you do this, and this is something that most people will tell you, don't ever wash your car with dish soap. This is the only time that you do. So what you want to do is you want to remove the waxes that are on the car currently. So to do that, you use a dish soap, because a dish soap has detergents in there that will help remove the waxes, the grease, the grime, all that stuff off of the paint. So this is the only time I will tell you to use dish soap. After that, use a car soap, even something that's got a soap and a wax together, but always use car wax. When you're doing this process, this is the only time that you do it, because you're stripping everything off so you have a clean slate when you start going through this process, and when you get done you have this nice build up and shine. So we'll start with that. Then we're going to move on to the clay bar. Now this is a product that I have not used yet. Some of you may have used it before, so this is going to be my first time using this Chemical Guys clay luber and clay block. I've always used Meguiar's. As you can see, everything else I have is Meguiar's. I've always used Meguiar's clay bars and their spray that comes along with it. So this time I decided I want to try to use this block to see how well that works. So it says it on here that it cleans up to 20 cars. Now my clay bar with the actual clay, usually I would get maybe 2 to 3 cars out of it and it was toast. So I'm going to try this to see if this works any better. If you guys have any comments about this, go ahead and leave it in the comments below. After we do, well actually before we do that, sorry, I actually skipped a step. I've got my sandpaper. I didn't grab it. I'll go back there and grab it here in just 1 second. But you see, we've got a few scratches around here that I'm going to need to sand out. Those scratches right there I'm going to sand out. And I believe after I get this washed, it's really dusty and dirty right now, but there's a couple back here on the back side, and I think around on this side that I'll work on. I'll show those better here in a little bit after I get this all cleaned up. You'll be able to see those scratches a lot better. Other than that, the paint is in good condition, other than it has a lot of swirl marks. So we'll be working on that later. After you do the sanding and get those spots done, you do the clay bar over everything, then you're going to move on to your compound. Your compound is what's going to strip all your oxidation. A lot of the fine swirls will get taken out. It'll also, when you sand out these scratches here with the wet sandpaper, then you go over that with the compound. It'll start fine tuning all of that stuff and repolishing and re-waxing and filling in all those scratches. And slowly you'll start seeing that come back and you won't see those scratches anymore. After the compound, you follow it up with the Meguiar's Ultimate Polish Pre-Waxing Glaze. So this is supposed to give a deep reflection and high gloss. It takes out all the fine swirl marks. The stuff is amazing, but it is hard to work with. So the one thing I will suggest is that you are in some shade or in a garage where the paint is cool, there's not sun beating on it, it causes it to dry really fast. It is a lot harder to get off. So just rubbing it off with a hand towel It can get most of that off, but that's also why I have my buffer back here. I always take my buffer after each process and go over it just in case I missed some spots or it was a little heavier and I didn't quite get it all off before I move on to the next step. So then after you're done with that polish, then you're gonna put on the Meguiar's Ultimate Liquid Wax. This stuff works great. It's very easy to use. It sets in about 5 to 10 minutes, they say, to put it on. And so what I do is I just I'll do the hood, and then I'll start on the bumpers, and I'll work my way around to the fender. And once I get the fender done, then I'll come back and I'll wipe everything off the hood. And then I'll go over and get the door, and then I'll come back and wipe everything off the bumper, and then I just kind of work my way around. As I do one step, I come back and get the first step. So I'll do 3 to start. That's about a 10-minute process. Should be about 10-minute wait for each one, and then I just work myself around. It seems to work out pretty good, and like I said, every time I go over it with my buffer afterwards to make sure I remove everything. Then at the end, this is something new I started doing. Works out really well. I'm not going to put like a ceramic coating on this car because, I mean, this is a flip car. It's not my personal car. I have some ceramic wax that I'm going to be putting on that and on our Bronco when we get it back. So we'll follow it up with this hybrid ceramic detailer. This is something new that I started using. It's real easy to use. You just spray it on, you wipe it over, then you flip your rag over and wipe it back off. It really does help with the beading and helping things run off. It's not like a full ceramic detail or ceramic coating, but it does help. And always make sure that you have plenty of microfiber towels around, stuff to dry with. I got a couple other boot heads to help with taking all this stuff off before I move on to the next process. And that's it for right now. We're going to be moving on to getting it washed, and we'll be back. Hey guys, just finished up the Mustang. Came out pretty good. Shine is really good on it. There's a few more nicks and scratches and stuff like that I thought there was, but most of those were easy to cover up and were easily taken care of. So I'll go ahead and show that to you now. Saw earlier actually how dirty it was. Most of it was just dust and dirt, but when I did wash it, and I always, like I said, I always wash with dishwashing liquid because that removes all the waxes and contaminants that are on the paint to start with, and gives you a clean surface to start with your clay bar and your compound, your pre-wax glaze, your wax. So one thing that I did come across was, with this being a black car, everybody knows it's hard to wax black cars. Now, I don't know if my wax was old or if it's just because of the black car, but I put the wax on, and when I went to go wipe it off, it didn't seem like it wanted to wipe off, and it just seemed like there were just like swirls of just wax just everywhere. And the more I scrubbed on it, it didn't do anything. So I tried a buffer, and the buffer didn't really seem to be doing anything either. So instead of using that wax, I actually went ahead and just covered it with the ceramic detailer. And it turned out great. It took all that wax that was like stuck on the hood, took all that off of there, or just blended it, or whatever it did. But it actually came out looking excellent. As you can see, you can really see that deep black shine now. There used to be a lot of fine little swirls and everything in this, and you can't see that at all anywhere. Just turned out great. Most of this was done out in the sun, which I don't like to do, but I don't really have a garage right now, as you can see. So I just kind of had to do with what I had. The wheels cleaned up really good. There's still a little bit of dirt in some places that I need to do a little more scrubbing on, but they were in a lot worse shape than that. But you guys can see the shine that comes out of this, and it is very just slick, just like showroom, just like when you buy a brand new car. It is just a flat, slick surface. As you can see, just the paint just turned out great. Like I said, there's a few other places where there were nicks and chips and stuff that I didn't see before because of all the dust and the dirt. But really turned out great. I don't think I'm going to have any problem selling this. Now, selling it for what I want is going to be a little bit harder. But we know right now that people are asking a little higher for their vehicles. I'm trying to follow Kelley Blue Book to what I can. I did have to end up putting in a little bit more money into this than I expected because of some of the hidden issues that it had. It was a younger kid that owned it, and I don't think that he realized that there was anything wrong. One thing is this doesn't have ABS brakes. So when I got into it, the brakes were shot. The front brakes were bad. The rear brakes were bad. But the problem was, since it had bad catalytic converters, I couldn't run it for any more than 10 minutes. I could barely even drive it. It wouldn't go any more than about 5 miles per hour. So really figuring out with the brakes, I could tell that there was something going on with the brakes, but I didn't think it was as bad as it was. I ended up having to put brand new rotors and pads, which you can see they're a little rusty because it's been sitting here, but those are brand new rotors. I got brand new pads on the front, and I also put brand new rotors and pads on the rear, even though, like I said, they're just rusty from just sitting here because we don't drive it. It's a daily. And even after changing that, I still had a little bit of a problem. So I started checking into the master cylinder. I replaced the master cylinder. That didn't fix. I actually made a mistake. It's in one of my other videos. I put the master cylinder in, didn't know it had to go through a rod in the brake booster, and I damaged the master cylinder and the brake booster and had to get new ones of each. So that was my fault and my cost on me, which even that was still only about another $130 to replace those, around $150, something like that. So I got those replaced. Brakes they were better, but it still didn't seem perfect. So I did take it into a shop. They did a forced bleed on it because I did bleed the brakes out, got all the old fluid out, and was flushing new through, and I was still having a little bit of a pedal issue, and took it in there. They did a full brake flush through the system to flush out any air and everything, and now the brakes are working pretty good for non-ABS. It was a little awkward trying to get back into that. Not sure about you guys who've been used to ABS for so long. It's hard to tell whether something's wrong or not when you get into non-ABS. They just feel weird. But other than that, everything else pretty much went to plan. I did have to replace the lower ball joints in the front. The ball joints were bad, but I found out it was actually easier for me to replace the lower control arms. So I replaced lower control arms on both sides, which then threw my alignment out. So when I had taken it in there to have the brakes done, I had an alignment done. So now it tracks great, drives excellent. The only problem right now that I have is because I had to replace the catalytic converters and the muffler. When I replace those, I'm having a little bit of exhaust leaks. So I haven't decided whether I'm going to run that in and get those exhaust leaks fixed, or if I'm going to use some JB Weld, see if I can fix the lower ones. I think might be able to tighten the bolts up a little bit tighter by the manifold, see if that helps out. But I'm going to try to do what I can myself, and if I can't get it, then I'll just take it in and say, hey guys, I tried to fix it myself and it didn't work, and just let them fix it. It probably cost about $100. It's not what I would prefer to do. I may just leave it and just say, hey, everything is there, everything's running good, it just needs the exhaust leaks fixed. Probably $100 at an exhaust place if you get an appointment. They probably get you in and out in less than an hour, have it fixed up for you. I just don't want to put any more money into it. Try to think what else we did. We fixed the coolant reservoir was leaking. I replaced the coolant reservoir. Replaced the sway bar links. And if I happened to replace the muffler, I didn't intend to replace the muffler. I thought I was just replacing the catalytic converters, and I ended up having to replace the muffler because catalytic converters had blown their stuff through the pipe and back into the muffler, so the muffler was clogged. And that was, I got the pieces out of the main tube, but it's hard telling how much was actually in the muffler. Didn't want to risk doing that and then damaging something else later on, so just went ahead and replaced it. So that was another $150 on top of what I didn't intend to spend. So, and all in all, it was supposed to be about $700 in parts, and ended up spending about $1,200 in parts to get everything fixed that needed to be fixed, so that someone, when they bought it, they didn't have to rush out and fix a bunch of things. I didn't want that. I wanted the person that actually purchased this to be able to go drive it. And, you know, the exhaust thing, it doesn't really sound that bad when you're driving it. So it's just a matter of the person, whether they want to fix it or not. They don't have to. It kind of has a V8 sound to it right now. But it's not horrible. So that's going to be their option. Oh, the other thing also, because I had $700 in parts, it did also include a full tune-up and oil change. So I did flush the oil, did an engine flush with BG engine flush, flushed all that out, put in new oil, changed out the plugs, the wires, and the coil pack. So this thing has a full tune-up, oil change. Brake system's all brand new, except for the brake lines. The exhaust is all brand new, except for the mid-pipe. The tires are in good shape. The rims look good. Inside is good. The speedometer wasn't working. Part of it wasn't working, and I replaced the speedometer. So it's got a new speedometer, or instrument cluster, I guess you'd say. The speedometer worked, the tachometer didn't work, and the engine temperature didn't work. I can't give somebody a car where the engine temperature doesn't work and they don't know if their car's overheating or not. That's just not the right thing to do. So I replaced that. That was another $130 that I didn't plan to spend. But it's something I had to do for the next person. I just can't pass it on. Something broke like that. It's a dangerous thing. I mean, somebody's buys a car and they go drive it down the road and it overheats on them right after they purchased it, because they didn't know, because the temperature gauge wasn't working. I mean, that is not a fair thing to do to people. So I just chose not to do that, to replace that. So that was additional money, but all in all, this thing is ready to go. I just got to clean out the interior. The interior's good. It's got a little bit of a smell to it. But I'll even open the doors to show you. This interior is really good. It just needs cleaned up. So as you can see, this leather interior, the seats are good. It's got powered seats. It just needs vacuumed out, kind of cleaned up. Clean up the mats. Everything else looks good in here. I'm not sure what the whole donut thing is. There's a donut sticker there, and there was one on the window. I got the one on the window off. I just haven't taken that one off yet. But all of these seats are in very good condition. There's no rips, tears, anything. The back seats are all good. So the only thing I got left to do is detail the inside. But as you can see, it's kind of getting a little dark. Enjoyed seeing the videos on the flip. There's other videos that you can look at. If you go to my channel, please click subscribe if you enjoyed watching this type of stuff. I've got some more stuff coming up. We do have our Bronco Sport is out on getting some upgrades done. We're having the roof painted black so that it's because we got the Big Bend version, the Outer Banks and above versions have a the upper top of the vehicle is black, and my wife really likes that. So we're painting the top black. We've got a roof spoiler coming off the back that's going to be painted and installed. We've also got what was it? They are fender flares, air design fender flares that are getting installed. Rough Country 1.5 inch lift level, so it's 1.5 in the front, 1/2 inch in the back. We also installed 2-inch bigger tires, so we're going to have an overall stance of increase of 3.5 inches. That is going to make it taller than the Badlands, taller than a first edition. Now this is the Bronco Sport, not the Bronco, but it's going to be getting pretty close to that height of the Bronco. So it'll be interesting to see. We should be picking that up this week. We thought we were going to get it back on Saturday. Didn't work out. They weren't quite finished with it in the body shop, but it should be done either Monday or Tuesday. And when we get that back, I will do a video update on that. So that is all that I've got right now. I'm also just going to start doing some videos on Ford updates. It's for you Ford owners and people that are Ford Ford guys and gals. So what it is I get information from Ford on a daily basis. I will put those all together, and I will get at the end of the week, I will give you all of that information that I've been given all week. And I'll start it with the one that I have the most information about, and then work its way down. Now I am going to limit it to F-150s, the F-150s, the Broncos, Bronco Sport, try to think what else there was, the Ford Maverick, and the Ford Ranger. So those are going to be the main ones I'm going to be talking about. So it's going to be more of the truck side of stuff. If I do get some information on like some F-250s or F-350s or something like that come up, then I'll probably pop that in there. But the main ones are going to be F-150, Bronco, Bronco Sport, Maverick, and the Ranger. If there's any others that people are interested in and want to know more information about, like the Edge or something like that, Escape, something to that effect, then let me know in the comments, and I will work on getting some of that information and passing it on. I do get information on those. I just don't see that people are as interested in that type of stuff. So, but if you are, make sure you guys leave comments and stuff down at the bottom, so that I know that's what you want to see, and what you want to hear about. So, like I said, it'll be a weekly thing. And I'll be starting that shortly. I'm planning on probably making the video either tonight or tomorrow night, depending on the time frame I have. But it'll be all for the news from last week. So some you may have heard, some you may not have heard, but it's stuff that I get an email on every single day. And I can't do a video every day giving out that information, so it's just easier to compile it into one weekly thing. And then if you come back a few weeks later and wonder, you know, what's going on with the Ford Lightning, you can come back, check my video out, see if I have any information on the Ford Lightning. Usually there's something about every week that they're talking about. So, oh, and now I forgot, I am adding in the Mustang. The Mustangs and Mustang Mach-E will also be covered on that. Sorry about that. Those are, trying to cover the main brands from Ford. So, and models from Ford. So, all right, so if you want to see those videos, go ahead, click subscribe, click like on this video if you liked it, and hit the bell notification so you can see my videos when they pop up. It's good to converse with you guys, and I hope to talk again to you soon.